Okay, class 6. Today we come to the chapter 16, building a new state. Now, building a new state means building a new state. Like we have so many states in our country. So, how do we build it? A state can be a country also, it could be one of those a state where we are divided into different states. So, let's go to the chapter straight away. The renowned physics, physicist and former President of India, Dr. APG Abdul Kalam, describes his experiences and India's challenges. So let's see. Now, this is written by Abdul Kalam, the former President of India. I began this book with my travel to Jharkhand state in the month of September 2001. My purpose on the state was to work out a development plan program in the area of herbs, forest products, and other natural resources. After meeting with the Chief Minister Babu Lai Marandi, the Minister for Science and Technology, Samaresh Singh, and other concerned officials, when I landed at Ranchi, a group of boys and girls greeted me with lots of flowers. I was quite moved by their regard for a simple scientist and the trust in his dreams. So now he's beginning the book with this travel to Jharkhand state in somewhere in September in 2001. So his purpose was to work out a development program in the area of herbs, forest products, and what do you call forest products and other natural resources after meeting with the chief minister. So I recall my earlier visit to the hills region about 75 kilometers away from Ranchi. As I met the people of the hill region, young and old, in the village complex, sitting like them on the ground. So when he met them, he was sitting on the ground with them. One thing was clear to me: my presence was ordained, means officially ordered. The components for developing were all there, for development were all there. A fertile area with good rainfall, tall trees, and rich vegetation, and people who are willing to work hard. So all these points were there for Jharkhand for it to become a nice, a developed state, because we have so many natural resources, plus the people, skilled people. Their faces lit up with happiness so pure it is rarely seen anymore in the cities at least. However, the bodies looked tired. They were happy, but their bodies looked tired, showing signs of excess work for a bare livelihood. Means they used to work very hard, but for the livelihood, but they used to get very little money. On this visit, we made some headway in drawing up a viable plan for developing a herbal drugs industry in the state. So they made a plan to develop a herbal drugs industry in the state. Our purpose was that the drugs be manufactured within the state itself, so to provide increased income to the state from value addition and also boost industry there. So what the purpose was actually that the drugs be manufactured in the state also, and the raw materials taken from the state itself. Means the value addition means to develop the raw materials into products. That is the value meaning of value addition, and also to boost the industry there. This was a new experiment for the state and for us, but it offered tremendous scope. After the meeting, we started for Bokaro, the steel city. The weather was cloudy, and we wondered if the flight could be cancelled. So the weather was cloudy, so they were wondering if the helicopter would be cancelled because the weather is not good. A Pawan Hans helicopter had been hired by the state government. I asked the pilot whether we could fly in this weather. So he asked the pilot, the weather is not good. Will we be able to fly? Yeah. All smiles. The pilot promised me a beautiful flight, and so the helicopter took off with myself and two other passengers. So the pilot said, don't worry, we'll fly the plane. You won't have any problems. I have often flown in a helicopter but did not find the weather particularly but did find the weather particularly rough on this occasion. So he has flown many times, but this time he was having some doubts because the weather was really rough. However, the pilot was skillful, and I even congratulated him at one point for keeping the flight smooth in spite of the turbulence. Turbulence means irregular motion of air due to the currents. So it was a marvelous experience as we flew vast stretches of forest and hills and streams. So, flying in the helicopter, he could look down and he saw hills, streams, forest, and they look marvelous. I wondered whether this precious natural wealth could be conserved from mindless destruction for short-term business gains. So he saw the big, nice forest, but he was wondering whether this can be conserved by people who are cutting down the forest for short-term gains or short-term gains. With such thoughts in my mind, I noticed that we had started descending. He noticed that they were descending, coming down. Suddenly, I found the two pilots in agitated discussion. He found the pilots were they started discussing and, they were worried and they were talking to each other in a very, what do you call, a worried atmosphere. They were scared. Like I became alert myself. Looking down, I could see a large number of cars and people everywhere. So while the pilots were talking, he could see a large number of cars and people everywhere. Then the crash. The helicopter hit the ground with a shattering sound. Broken parts flew around us, and I could see fire engine rush towards us. He saw the helicopter hit the ground. He could feel the shattering sound. Broken parts flew all around. Then I simply got off the helicopter that hit the ground as a dead weight. It came down as a dead weight. Fortunately, the engine failed while we were quite close to the ground. So they were fortunate. The engine did not fail while they were high. But while they were very close to the ground, that time the engine failed. So the impact was not so much. Had it failed moments earlier, we could have perished under the impact of the free fall. The pilots were in a state of shock and looked at me helplessly. I held their hands and thanked them. I said, sometimes it happens with flying machines, and as pilots, they have to face it with courage. So the pilots was in shock, but he thanked the pilots and told them it happens sometimes. I had to address the Chinamaya Vidyalaya students, and they would all be waiting. So we rushed to the school, leaving behind the crash and the shock. So, but he had a meeting somewhere. He had to go and meet the students. So he left all that and they went to the school. The school's principal, Krishna Swami, received me, and the students showered rose petals as I walked to the dais through the auditorium. News of the crash had preceded my arrival. So he went to the on the dais in the auditorium, but the news of his crash, because there were many media persons there, so it started spreading very fast in the country. The children sat in pin drop silence. There was not a sound from the children. To ease the tension, I told the young gathering, friends, when I was traveling from Ranchi to here, I admired I admired God's great gift to the state. So he told the children, while from Ranchi to here I was flying, I saw the great wealth from top. The forest is so beautiful. Under the ground and above it, you have minerals in abundance. The rich soil of the Jharkhand, the rich soil of the Jharkhand, yeah. So he told the children, I saw God's gift to the state, under the ground and above it. You have minerals in abundance. The rich soil, the rich soil of the Jharkhand plains can give bountiful crops. So you can get plenty of crops here. Forest and the valleys and hills and thought of wealth. So he said when I was flying over all the lovely forest and the wealth they hold in terms of forest and herbal products was very reassuring. On the ground, I saw a fully operational steel plant. Now, when he came on the ground, he saw a steel plant fully operational. Now, what I see in front of me, and the new state is famous for its industrious people. So, this state has all the wealth it needs. So, he said this state has got everything it needs. It is a land waiting for transformation to occur. It's got everything, but it has to be transformed. I see in the future that villages that will be provided with urban facilities which are self-contained in respect of education, health, and occupation. Today's incident will help define my remaining life's mission. So he said, today's incident, what happened, it will help me to define my remaining life's mission. He said, I could have died today, but I am living. So I forgot my inconvenience during the landing after seeing the state's wealth. How can you use this core competence to become a developed state? He said, how can we use all this wealth to convert it and become a developed state? For that, you have to work in the mission mode. Now, what is the mission mode? Mission mode means you got to work with love. You must have love for your work. At the time, these children would be entering about adult life and taking up careers. They could be part of a national endeavor to becoming a knowledgeable and a knowledge society. Their contribution to the state itself could be tremendous. So he said this at this time, children will be entering adult life and could be working in different fields. So they can give the knowledge, and this knowledge can be a great contribution to this, a tremendous contribution to the state. That should be the goal, to make Jharkhand great. One thing that came to mind constantly as I went around the exhibition put up by the children and watched the performance, including a marvelous peacock dance, was how important it was to improve the education system so that it did not stifle these powerless powerhouses of creativity. I felt this is one area I must work upon with the state and the center. So what he saw that this uh, the education system needed to be improved and to not did not stifle this powerhouse of creativity. I continued with my other engagements after the function at the Chinnamaya Vidyalaya. There was a meeting due at the town hall, and I went there, brushing aside the concern of the doctors, thoughtfully sent by the general manager of the Bogaro Steel Plant to look after my well-being. So the doctor was wanted to check him up. He said, "No, there's no need. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me." So he was just brushing away. So he had to go to as he had a meeting in the town hall. At the town hall, the subject I had to speak was Jharkhand's core competence and industries. I kept my speech short, preferring to let a discussion develop. So he kept his speech short and he wanted more of a discussion and interaction with the audience. Meanwhile, the electronic media had done its job as there was a strong media presence to cover our arrival. News of the crash traveled quickly throughout the country. I started receiving calls on my mobile phone to find out whether I was all right. I did not want to disturb the meeting and gave the mobile phone to Dr. Vijagaran, who by then had reached the road by from Ranchi. Asked him to call my elder brother Rameshwar, who's 86 years old, and tell him that I was fine. So meanwhile, as I told you, the news of the helicopter crashed, and then people were phoning him to find out, but he was at a meeting, he was at a discussion, and he was being disturbed. So he gave the phone to one Vijayagaran, and he told him to answer and tell them everything. But then he told him to call his elder brother also and tell him that he was okay. Now, as I was giving my talk to Dr. Vijayagaran, passed a note to me. Your brother is not convinced that you're okay. So he told him, your brother is not convinced. I told him, I phoned him, but he's not convinced. Unless you talk to him, then he will be convinced. If you're okay, he has to hear your voice. An elder brother remains elder all his life. I interrupted my speech to reassure my brother. To come back to the discussion at the town hall meeting, I was asked a very pertinent question, relevant from the audience. Dr. Kalam, the questioner said, could you please tell me why is raw material exported from many parts or many ports, especially designed for this purpose? So he said, why are the raw materials exported? This was especially relevant to Jharkhand with its huge storehouse of mineral wealth. In answer, I narrated a conversation I had in Goa with Dr. Jose Paul, chairman of the Mugao Port Trust. We started discussing iron ore exports to Japan, much of which took place from Punjab. He told me 30 million tons of iron ore exported annually from the four ports. Of the 17 million tons is exported from Morgao alone. The ore is sold at a rather low price, a few dollars of a ton, as according to the buyers. It is of inferior quality. As such, a sale did not contribute anything to the economy. The same overutilized year would, of course, generate far more income because of value addition. So he's saying the when the question was asked, he's saying, "Okay, I will tell you an incident." He was talking about somebody from a chairman from Goa. He's saying he told him that 30 million tons of iron ore exported to Japan, but they get very less money. He's saying the same iron ore, if we in India convert it into something, we will get more money and it will help the economy. So somebody asked him a question, what is value addition? Could you give an example? So he said, and a powerful example came to my mind. When we were working on the satellite launch vehicles in the 70s, a requirement arose for beryllium diaphragms. These are used in gyros, sensors used to determine the altitude, the position of an aircraft in relation to specified directions of the rockets or missiles when they're in flight, as they were not available locally. So these things were not available in India and they had to order it and import it from US. Yeah, as a procurement which team was formed to to purchase them in the international market. We struck a deal with a company in New York for 100 diagrams. So they made a deal with the New York, somewhere with the business in New York for this. 3 months later, they got a message from the company that since beryllium diagrams are used to make Gypros, mounted an intercontinental ballistic missile, they did not have permission from the State Department to supply them to India because these are sensitive materials. So they could not supply to India. So what they did, he said, we immediately initiated action to redress the problem in a typical firefighting manner. Meanwhile, it emerged means it came to be known that India has one of the largest deposits of beryllium ore. The ore was exported in those days to Japan, who processed the ore into beryllium rods and sheets and exported them to the US companies to transform them into beryllium products, such as diaphragms. I received the shock of my life. This was material mined in India and exported to Japan, who processed it and exported to the US, and the US company refused to give to India. So over here you saw the difference. The iron ore was being exported to Japan. Japan was converting their iron ore into something else, and they were selling it to the US. The US was converting it into something else, and they refused to sell it to India. But the raw material was going in from India. Where was our sense of initiative? What happened to our aims? The issue figured prominently in the press and export of beryllium was stopped. So now they came to know that from our product it was being made from, and they refused to give it to us. So now they stopped the export of beryllium. The same story is repeated in other areas. The upshot is that India is a poor nation, poor as a nation, in spite of its enormous wealth, because it does not focus on addition. Value addition means converting the raw materials into good products, into different products, be it in mineral or biodiversity products or even grain or fish. In the case of beryllium ore, value addition by at least 10 times takes place in refinement itself. Value addition by at least 100 times is achieved during product conversion. And this is what we would be paying Japan or the US for something that originated from India itself. It is the same with iron ore and many other exports. Not only the scale of value addition varies, it is a lesson that must quickly be learned. Now, at the same meeting, another interesting question came up. So he's saying, do you think in politics purity is possible? Purity means with good politics. Now, it was a little outside my preview, but there was one aspect to it raised earlier which I would like to mention. This aspect is that it is an entire generation of people representing excellence in all fields. So he says this: politics, industry, science, and arts in, emerged in the years leading to independence. He said these are the things which came up during the when we were going to get independence. Mahatma Gandhi, C.V. Raman, J.R.D. Tata, Piyush Godrej, Lakshman Rao, Kirloskar, Ramakrishna Bajaj, Rabindranath Tagore, Dr. Radhakrishnan, Madan Mohan Malviya. It is a long list. Suddenly there was an excellence of every sphere of society, and the circumstances made such flowering possible was the vision that the nation has set for itself. So these are all the good things that happened that time. I believe if the nation forms a second vision today, leaders of a stature to suit our ambition will appear once again in all walks of life, including politics. The next day, I traveled to Bokaro Steel Plant, the largest steel plant in India. The general manager of the plant, Mr. Tiwari, accompanied me. The scale of the plant was breathtaking. He said this was the largest steel plant in India. And the scale, how big it was really big. I saw hundreds of men working in an organized way as the sweat poured off their bodies, while the molten steel flowed from the furnace like a river. So he saw hundreds of men working, and the molten steel means liquid steel. It was flowing like a river. The iron ore would be available for years, I was told. Impressive as the plant was, but I was disappointed to see that there was no industrial estates around it. He saw there was no industrial estates around it to convert that steel into many other products, utilizing the steel produced here to make various other products. I was told that the setting up of industrial states comes under the state government, under the state purview. It brought back my old regret at compartmentalized thinking. Why these fragmented governments, where one agency is alienated from another? What he's trying to say is that the government and the industry and the state and the center must be thinking on the same length, and they all must work together. On the flight back to Delhi, I wondered how Jharkhand could best be helped. So while he was going back to Delhi, he was thinking about how the state of Jharkhand could be helped. The state and the center need to make an integrated effort. Integrated means together. So would that be possible to make Jharkhand a good state? Okay, I've given you all that for today. So much.